the way that we think about prompts, and I think where we're again a little bit different. So it's one thing to just provide a prompt and instructions and talk about your business to the language model. What we're doing differently here in the middle section is we can actually take very specific fields, specific signals, and even add like custom tags, or what we're calling calculated fields, which I'll show you how to do to again, tell the AI to go and look at a very specific piece of data. I want to work backwards here. So one thing that we did here with the first play earnings called data, job openings, and a company that's expanding. This is actually an email that was written by AI. I'm not saying it's absolutely perfect, but it's 95% better than any email I've seen from SDRs today. And I'll actually go and deconstruct how we got here. And then we have another play, previous champion job changes. A prior company used a competitor. So calling out the job change, finding out what they actually used in the past, and talking a little bit about how we're different than a potential competitor. And you can see here again, there's still more to definitely add here. My SDRs are gonna continue to add more personalization if they can find it, but we've built what I believe is an email that's 90% of the way there. So let's actually go into what this is going to look like in Common Room. All right, so in Common Room here, we're tracking 41,000 organizations right now. The first thing we need to do is get a small subset of companies so that the AI can be very specific. So the first thing I'm going to do here is add a filter for a news category. I'm looking for companies that are expanding into Europe. So the first thing I'm going to do is find some news categories where we're crawling the web and mentioning expansion. The second thing I'm going to do is add another conditional filter on top of this, where we're looking for news keyword searches. Specifically, I'm interested in EMEA. So I'm going to do EMEA keyword search. I'm going to go Europe, England. I think I spelled that wrong. England, Italy, Germany. Let's go France, Ireland, just to get a good catch-all. I'm going to apply the filter. So what you're going to notice with these filters, we've now found 71 organizations that in the news are talking about expanding into Europe. Now, we're going to go deeper here. I'm also interested in companies that are expanding to Europe and are increasing SDR headcount. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually build a filter for job listing keyword search. And I'm going to do BDR, SDR. I'm going to go sales development, and then business development. So that actually filtered us down to 33 orgs of the ones that we're tracking. Now, the next thing that I want to do is filter down to organizations that have an SDR headcount that would be a meaningful deal size for us if we're user-based. So for example, you're going to see a field here. This is a calculated field, and I'll show you how we built it, of the SDR headcount for a certain organization. So a company that has 2 is not really interesting to me. I want to set a filter where the SDR headcount is above 10. But the question is, how did I actually get to this number? And that's where something called calculated fields comes into play. So I'm going to show you how we built this. So I'm going to add a custom field here. I'll do SDR headcount. Just do a test here. The value is going to be calculated. And I'm going to choose an object so we can actually scan all LinkedIn profiles with our prospector functionality to see what their headcount is for these roles. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to title, and I want to include as many variations of BDR as possible, essentially. SDR here you can do like pretty much anything that contains SDR, anything that contains sales development, etc. And then what happens here when I click save, this is essentially going to go to any given organization and calculate that headcount that they have. And we're going to actually leverage this field in the AI prompt to get to the messaging that we mentioned before. So for example, in this here, what you're going to notice with our prospecting functionality, we have 101 people that have some form of this title. In this case, it's at Zendesk. We'll use it as an example. The reason you're seeing funky names here is because like it's demo mode, so we don't want to like reveal real data. But I think it is important for this example to mention that this is Zendesk. Okay. Now, the next thing we're gonna do with this information, now that we have 33 companies, is actually show you what the prompt is going to look like on the back end. So you can set all of these up. So here what we're going to do, we have a prompt where we're mentioning a few of the different things, like go look for the earning calls, mention the CEO if you can find it. We're adding here that we want the language model to look into specific fields like expansion to Europe and SDR headcount when it's coming up with the messaging. This is key because this is what a lot of companies can't do right now. And then a few instructions that I think are going to be like super key to actually create good messaging, right? So now let's actually go back here into a company like Zendesk. Let's say I want to reach out to somebody that I think is a great economic buyer. Now what I want to do is add this person, let's say, into outreach. So I have a very specific sequence that's focused on like Europe expansion. And this is going to be key. So I want to take you all back to this email. You're going to notice that there's 4 sentences and there's a subject line. I talked about how snippets are important. We don't want the AI to try to build the full message at once because it might possibly hallucinate, right? What we did is we built 4 different prompts. The first prompt is going to be the subject line. So Tom, Europe expansion. I'm assuming that Tom is likely the CEO of Zendesk. And that's what the AI went to find. So that's good. The next prompt in line is going to be the observation sentence. So we found Zendesk's Q2 earning call and Tom mentioned strategic growth into the EMEA region. Perfect. The next sentence, we're now looking across the calculated fields that we built. There's 101 SDRs that we found on LinkedIn, 6 SDR open job listings. And then here we're tying the context of how Common Room can help. And then we have a final snippet where this is focusing on providing some value. So we wanted a soft CTA. We decided to provide like a lead magnet. And that's pretty much how we got to this messaging and how we're going to be able to do this at scale for a lot of different companies. And think about how much time that would have taken like an SDR to actually go and do. And we can do this like once you've built all the prompts, do this for many, many companies at once. And again, this is better messaging than I've generally seen from a lot of companies. So I'm pretty proud with what we've built here so far.